Good afternoon. First of all, I want to welcome each of you for coming. And to remind you, there will be a small social at the end of my talk, so that way we can meet each other. My talk today will be on Milton S. Hershey, the chocolate bar king, but I won't be necessarily talking about his chocolate. There's another part of his life that I want to talk about today that benefited me. Also, before I start, I have two questions to ask all of you. And each question, just raise your hand if it applies. The first question is, have you ever eaten a Hershey bar? So all of you are familiar with Hershey chocolate. The second question that will fit into my talk is, were each of you raised from childhood through high school by your own mother and father? Raise your hand. Most of you were again, which will fit into my talk. Today, I'll start back in the 1800s. Mr. Hershey, when he finished school, he never finished graduating though. When he finished school and got of age to seek employment, he did not want to work for someone else. He wanted to work for himself. So what he did, he decided he would start a confectionery store. But he needed money. But he borrowed money then from a rich relative. And he opened a confectionery store in Philadelphia. The store, after some period of time, made a small profit, but it didn't make a big enough profit for him to want to expand. So what he did, he sold that store and moved to New York City, where he opened a second store, trying again. Well, the store in New York City had the same effect. A small profit, but not big enough to expand the business. So he thought he would try one more time. And what he did, he went to a third large city and tried again, but the results were the same. So what he did, he sold that third store and he moved back then to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in the general area where he was born and raised. While he was doing the confectionery stores, he took a liking to milk chocolate, but nobody around made milk chocolate. But when he got to Lancaster, the popular candy there was caramel candy. So what he did, the money he made from the stores, he opened up a caramel manufacturing business. And then it started selling right away because caramels were popular then. While he was doing that, he worked in the kitchen of the caramel plant with trying different recipes for milk chocolate. He tried many recipes, but he could never find a recipe for chocolate that he liked. But one day he hit on a recipe which he really liked. And that milk chocolate recipe is what you taste today when you eat a Hershey bar. So now that he had his good milk chocolate recipe, he decided then to sell the caramel business and use that money. He bought up farms in the next adjoining county, multiple farms, where he thought he would build his chocolate factory. After some period of time, he selected a cornfield to build his factory. Well, that was around 1990. The factory was finished, and he was ready to start trying to make milk chocolate. In 1902, he was successful and was ready to start selling milk chocolate. However, he realized that if he was to expand his business, he would need a lot more employees in that chocolate factory. But there weren't that many employees in the local area. So what he did, he decided he would have to recruit workers from farther away, but those workers would need a place to live. So he built quite a few homes in what is now Hershey, Pennsylvania. And he built homes so many employees would live close to work. Also, he realized that those workers on Sundays would want to go to church. And Mr. Hershey at that time was a Mennonite, but he respected the religions of others. So what he did to have those churches available for his workers, he built 8 churches in Hershey of all different denominations. And one of them was St. Joan of Arc, which is still there and is in the diocese of Harrisburg. So you can see how he not only thought of from a business point, he thought of the welfare of others. Now, in 1905, he was really selling locally milk chocolate. But to expand the business, he needed more sales. So he became his own salesman. And he started going around making train trips to large cities. He went to Philadelphia, then up to New York, then over to Binghamton, New York, Syracuse, Buffalo, all selling to distributors and stores to start selling his milk chocolate. And there was a lady he kept meeting when he got to Syracuse, New York. In 1905, they married. And the new wife then moved to Hershey. Sometime not too long after they were married, she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. So in her realization that she would never have any children, she told Mr. Hershey that he should use his profits to help needy poor children in dire need of a home. And that's where I fit in. And Mr. Hershey agreed. In 1909, he applied to the state of Pennsylvania to get a permit to open a children's home. And the permit was approved. So now he could start building some homes around what is now Hershey, Pennsylvania, for his future children. And since he had no children of his own, I'll jump ahead a little bit, he called us his children. So he decided that he would build many homes for these children. That was in 1909 when he got the permit. In 1912, he admitted the first 4 boys. And that was the start of it. So in 1911, he decided that he was going to go on a business trip to Europe. Now, some of these things I got out of biographies that were written on Mr. Hershey. A lot of my other thoughts are my own and my own experiences with Mr. Hershey. The following story, though, I got out of a biography, but it fits right in. In 1911, he decided to go on this business trip to Europe. And here he wrote a check, and here's a copy of the check signed by Mr. Hershey. And it's to ocean ship company. He made reservations with this company to go from New York to Europe. So in 1912, he took his wife and himself on the first leg of the trip. He got an ocean ship in New York Harbor and went to Europe, and he took his wife along. So in Europe, he started doing his business for the trip, and he got a sudden telegram. And the telegram informed him that there was a major problem in his chocolate factory. So what he did, rather than take both his wife and himself back, he had his wife stay in Europe while he took another ship back to New York Harbor. Of course, in those days there were no airlines. So he took a ship back to New York Harbor and went on to Hershey. After some time of fixing the problem in the chocolate factory, he went back to New York and got another ocean liner back to Europe. And when he got in Europe, he met up again with his wife to finish his business. Well, now having to make that emergency trip back to New York, he had to cancel his original itinerary reservation. And that turned out to be a blessing. The itinerary for his original return to Europe would have been on the Titanic, the maiden voyage of the Titanic. And we all know the story on the Titanic. The Titanic did not have enough lifeboats for all the passengers. So what lifeboats they had, they allowed ladies and children to get in lifeboats. Men had to stay on the ship. When the ship sunk, the men went down with the ship. Mr. Hershey, the original itinerary, would have been on that ship going down. And I often wonder what would have happened in Hershey with no Mr. Hershey. I would probably not be sitting here tonight, all because of an emergency. It just goes to show you that sometimes problems can turn out to be a blessing. It highlights something that we don't know about, and it sure saved Mr. Hershey and his wife, because when he had to delay in Europe, he had to take a different ship finally back to New York. Now all of that happened in 1912. 1915, Mrs. Hershey died from her terminal illness. In 1916, Mr. Hershey decided to give his entire fortune to the children's home that he started. The children's home he named the Hershey Industrial School. So his fortune at that time had really grown because of the profits from the milk chocolate. His transfer of his fortune was valued at $60 million. It included everything in Hershey except the chocolate factory. He had turned the chocolate factory into a stockholder company. So the stockholders really owned the chocolate factory then. But what Mr. Hershey did, he gave his Hershey Industrial School 80% of the voting stock in the chocolate factory. So that left the board of managers in charge to tell the chocolate factory what to do, even though they did not own it. So you can see how Mr. Hershey thought of things in his mind well ahead of time by just saving and giving to the school that 80% of voting stock. The value of the stock also included Hershey Park. Some of you may have been to Hershey in Hershey Park. If you have, next time you go, just remember Hershey Park is owned by what is now named the Milton Hershey School. They renamed it after he died. So now the school owns Hershey Park. In 1929, my father died from terminal cancer at the young age of 37. At that young age of 37, he left my mother with 6 young children. My mother, when she graduated from high school, she became a housewife very shortly after. So she had no work experience. My mother lost my father's income in 1929. There was no Social Security. There were no social programs. My mother had no work experience. She could not get a job that would pay enough. And also the Deep Depression of the 1930s set in 1929. So you can see how desperate my mother was. She had no idea how to raise these 6 children. Fortunately, at the time, in 1929, she heard about this Hershey Industrial School that Mr. Hershey started. And she got in touch with Mr. Hershey and told him about her desperate situation with 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. Mr. Hershey was very understanding and immediately took my 2 brothers and me into his Hershey Industrial School in 1929. So you can see in 29 many things happened. I was 8 years old when I was admitted. The day I was admitted is the day I lost my mother. My mother, when she left me in Hershey, that was the last I saw of her for a long time. I was in Hershey, incidentally, I'll jump ahead a little bit. My tenure in Hershey was for 11 years. In those 11 years, I saw my mother 4 times. My mother never had money to buy a train ticket to come visit us, so I never saw her. So that's why I say in 29 my father died, and in 29 when I was admitted into Hershey, my mother I never saw my mother after that day. It had to be a sad day, I'm sure, for her. But to show you how Mr. Hershey saved me probably from the streets, he saved me by taking my 2 brothers, myself, into his home. His home, he had started to build different homes for children that he would be taking in. And he had each home based on age. The home that I was admitted in was a home for boys 8 years old to 11. So I was in that home then for 3 years. In that home, I had 2 sisters as my house parents. My 2 sisters I can still remember from 1929. Their names were Miss Carrie and Miss Pearl. But up to this day, I can remember them when I was 8 years old.